Hello students, my name is Dr. Alice Mani. I will be imparting lessons on Business Law, course 306. I am the resource person for Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education. I will be imparting lessons on business law. This is part of the BBA Rural Management course. This course is divided into 4 units. You will have 16 modules covering the syllabus. The 4 modules will be the first module, which is an introductory chapter. Second chapter is various acts. And the third is Sale of Goods Act. And the fourth and last chapter is Consumer Protection Act 2019. This unit, that is chapter 2, will be covered in 5 modules. The first module will look at the introduction to government contracts and Article 299. The second module will cover e-contracts or electronic contracts. The third module will cover the various provident funds and gratuity. Fourth module will cover Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, also known as its short form FSSAI, and Employees Compensation Act 2010. The fifth and last module will cover the Goods and Services Tax or GST. We will cover one module of the second unit, which is Goods and Services Tax or GST, in this video. So let us go ahead and understand the topic in detail. I have structured this lesson in the following way. Goods and Services Tax is a vast topic and it cannot be covered fully in this module. You know that GST is a full-length paper for most undergraduate and postgraduate courses. The important topics as per your syllabus are covered in this module. As already mentioned, this lesson will be an introduction to Goods and Services Tax. This lesson will cover 8 broad areas. The first will be an introduction to the history of Goods and Services Tax and the various steps that led to the evolution of GST. Second, the benefits of GST. Third, the constitutional powers of GST. And fourth, GST Council and powers of GST Council. Fifth is about Indian model of GST, which is the dual GST system. Sixth, the type of supply. Seventh is on persons liable for GST registration and the procedure for registration. Last module will cover the e-way bill. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand the various events led to the evolution of GST, benefits of GST, constitutional powers of GST and GST Council, Indian model of GST, type of supply, procedure for registration, persons liable to register, and also about the e-way bill. Thus, in a nutshell, you will get the important aspects of the Goods and Services Tax system in our country. This will be helpful for those who will become entrepreneurs in future or for understanding the GST component added to all our spending as a consumer. So, let us understand this topic in detail. I don't have to ask you whether you know GST or have you heard about GST. When we buy any item, if you check the bill, you can see the GST added as a component. This is the importance of this module. We have to learn this topic because Goods and Services Tax is part and parcel of our life. So we have to understand the subject in detail. Let us understand the subject right from the introduction of this tax till its present structure. France was the first country to introduce GST in 1954. Malaysia implemented GST 26 years later to become the second country in the world to implement GST. After independence, the major tax reform that happened in our country is GST. In the year 2000, late Prime Minister of India at that time, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, had set up a committee to design the framework for Indian GST tax structure. Then the state finance ministers formed an empowered committee to create a structure for GST based on their experience in dealing with the state value added tax. This committee was headed by Mr. Asim Das Gupta. the then Finance Minister of West Bengal. He continued to be the chairperson of this committee till 2011. In 2004, a task force headed by Mr. Vijay L. Kelkar, the advisor to the Finance Ministry, reported that there are many loopholes in the existing indirect tax system in our country. In 2005, while presenting the Union Budget, the then Finance Minister, Mr. Chidambaram, had announced that the long-term plan of the government is to introduce GST. He had also set up a guideline and a deadline of 1st April 2010 as the GST introduction date in the country. This deadline for introduction of GST was again announced by Mr. Chidambaram in the Union Budget in 2007 again. In 2009, the then Finance Minister, late Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, announced the basic skeleton of the GST system in our country. In 2010, the central government introduced the Mission Mode project for the implementation of GST in our country. The budgetary allocation for the project was rupees 1133 crore for computerizing the commercial taxes in states. In March 2011, the GST bill was introduced in the Parliament. But due to protest by opposition parties, the bill was sent to a standing committee for detailed discussion. In 2014, the BJP-led government headed by Mr. Narendra Modi was voted to power at the centre. The then Finance Minister, late Mr. Arun Jaitley, in Mr. Narendra Modi's government cabinet, announced in his 2015 budget speech that GST system will be introduced in our country by 1st April 2016. In June 2016, Ministry of Finance released the draft mode of GST for public review and asked for suggestions by August 2016. Both the Houses of Parliament gave approval for the bill. In 2016, the Honorable President of our country gave his consent for the bill. Thus, in 2017, 4 bills related to GST became an act following the approval in the Parliament and the consent of the President of India for the bill. The 4 bills are Central GST Bill, Integrated GST Bill, Union Territory GST Bill and GST Compensation to States Bill. The GST Act was implemented in our country from July 1st, 2017. This was introduced as the 122nd Amendment Bill of the Constitution of India. Goods and Services Tax or GST is defined as the tax levied when a consumer buys a good or service. It is proposed to be a comprehensive indirect tax levy on the manufacture, sale and consumption of goods as well as services. The basic idea of this bill is to create a single, cooperative and undivided Indian market to make the economy stronger and powerful. As already mentioned, there are 4 bills in Goods and Services Tax. The 4 bills related to GST Act are the following. First, Central GST Bill. Second, Integrated GST Bill. Third, Union Territory GST Bill. And fourth and last bill, which is GST Compensation to States Bill. Now, let us see the benefits of GST. The GST tax structure is a win-win situation for the entire country. It brings benefits to all the stakeholders of the industry, consumers and government. The significant benefits of GST are the following. First, GST subsumes a number of existing indirect taxes which were earlier levied by the centre and state governments, including central excise duty, service tax, value added tax, purchase tax, central sales tax, entry tax, local body taxes, octroi, luxury tax, etc. It brings benefits to all the stakeholders, that is industry, government and the citizens. It is expected to lower the cost of goods and services, boost the economy and to make our products and services globally competitive. GST makes India a common national market with uniform tax rates and procedures and removes the economic barriers, thereby paving the way for an integrated economy at the national level. by subsuming most of the central and state indirect taxes into a single tax and by allowing a set of prior stage taxes for the transactions across the entire value chain, GST mitigates the ill effects of cascading and thereby improves the competitiveness of the Indian industry. GST will also give a major boost to the Make in India initiative of the government by making goods or services produced or provided in India competitive in the national and international markets. Average tax burden on trade and industry would come down, which is expected to reduce prices, resulting in more consumption, which in turn means more production and thereby boosting the growth of industries. The removal of cascading of taxes and increased transparency makes the citizens more informed about the taxes they pay while purchasing goods or services. GST boosts domestic demand, creates more opportunities for domestic business and derives job creation. GST brings the entire indirect tax structure in our country to one nation, one tax. Harmonization of laws, procedures and rates of tax makes compliance easier and simpler. There are common definitions, common forms, formats and common interface through GST portal, resulting in efficiencies and synergies across the board. This also removes multiple taxation of same transactions and interstate disputes like the ones on entry tax and e-commerce taxation. All this also helps in reduction of compliance costs, alleviates the need for multiple record keeping for a variety of taxes, leading to lesser investment of resources and manpower in maintaining records. Common procedures for registration of taxpayers, refund of taxes, uniform formats of tax return, common tax base, common system of classification of goods or services, along with benefits of goods and services tax with timelines for every activity lends greater certainty to the taxation system. GST is largely technology driven. The interface of the taxpayer with the tax authorities is through the common portal, that is GSTN. There are simplified and automated procedures for various processes such as registration, returns, refunds, tax payments, etc. All processes, be it applying for registration, filing of returns, payment of taxes, filing of refund claims, etc. is done online through GSTN. The input tax credit will be verified online. Electronic matching of input tax credit all across India makes the process more transparent and accountable. This will encourage a culture of compliance. This greatly reduces the human interface between the taxpayer and the tax administration, leading to speedy decisions. Now we have to understand the constitutional powers of GST. In our country, GST was introduced by a constitutional amendment. The powers to make laws with respect to goods and services tax are the following, and this right is as per Article 246A of the Indian Constitution. The first feature in this regard is that this article grants power to the centre and to state governments to make laws with respect to GST imposed by centre and states. Second feature is that central government has the power to make rules regarding GST with respect to interstate supply of goods and services. The third feature you have to remember is that 3 items are excluded from GST till date. These items are alcohol for human consumption, petroleum products and electricity. For these exempted items, still excise and value added tax will continue. The next important topic in GST is the GST Council. GST Council consists of 33 members. The Union Finance Minister, who will be appointed as the chairman of the council. The Union Minister of State in charge of Revenue or Finance will be a member of the council. one member from each state and union territory who is a Minister of Finance. The state finance ministers will select one among them as the vice chairman of the council. The responsibilities of the GST council include the following. Firstly, it is the administration of GST laws in our country. GST council specifies the tax rates and surcharges for GST. The third responsibility is to specify the exempted items from GST. Now, as we all know that there is a demand from all corners to include petroleum products under GST to reduce the rates of petroleum products. Again, in the recently concluded GST council meeting, the council has decided to increase and reduce GST for some items. Thus, as the fourth responsibility of the council, we can say that GST council specifies the GST rates applicable for various goods and services. Similarly, GST council decides the ceiling of turnover to get exempt from paying GST. We know that the earlier rates for exemption were 20 lakhs and turnover for normal taxpayers, but it is increased to 40 lakhs in the recent GST council meeting. For northeastern states, the earlier limit was 10 lakhs of turnover, but it is increased to 20 lakhs in the recently concluded GST council meeting. Similarly, GST council decides how to apportion the revenue between center and states. Also, GST council has got the power to impose additional taxes in times of natural calamities and disaster. Lastly, GST council has got the power to take decisions with regard to special category states or any matter related to implementation of GST in our country. India has adopted a dual GST model in view of the federal tax structure of our country. As the name suggests, the dual GST tax structure implies that both the central and state governments can levy and collect taxes via appropriate legislation. For the purpose of levy of GST, supply is categorized into two, that are intra-state supply and interstate supply. Intra-state supply is the supply of goods and services within the same state or union territory. For example, if Mr. A from Bangalore purchased goods from Mr. B, a wholesaler in Mysore, it is an example for intra-state supply, whereas interstate supply is the purchase of goods from two different states. For example, Mr. A from Bangalore purchased goods from Mr. B, a wholesale dealer from Chennai. That is an example of interstate supply. Now we have to see who are the people who are responsible to register under GST Act. The recently concluded GST Council meeting changed the earlier limits. The earlier limits were every supplier whose aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakhs, and for special category states the limit was 10 lakhs. But now the rates are increased to 40 lakhs and 20 lakhs for regular suppliers and suppliers from special category states. Now we have to learn about the procedure for registration of GST. Those who want to register can register in the GST portal. It is compulsory to provide email ID and phone number for registration. It is important to remember that if a dealer has operations in more than one state, separate registrations are required for each state. Similarly, if a person has dealings in different districts or places within the same state, then also separate registrations are required for different places or districts. It is also important to submit the required documents for registration. For example, PAN card, Aadhaar card, registration details of business, photographs of sole proprietors, partnership deed in the case of partnership business, or memorandum of association or articles of association in the case of companies, bank account details of current accounts, etc. If the applications are valid and accompanied by the required documents for registration, the GST registration will be approved in 3 working days. If any clarifications are required by the GST office, they issue a notice asking for clarifications or resubmission of documents. The required clarification has to be provided in 7 working days. If the clarification is satisfactory and supported with the documents asked for, then registration is granted. In some cases, the officer will be of the opinion to do a physical verification of the business premises. So, in some cases, physical verification is done. The call for physical verification of the business premises is at the discretion of the officer concerned. If it is satisfactory, registration is granted in 15 working days. Now, we have to discuss about the e-way bill. E-way bill or electronic way bill is a document introduced under the GST regime that needs to be generated before transporting or shipping of goods worth more than rupees 50,000 within the state or interstate. The physical copy of e-way bill must be present with the transporter or the person in charge of the conveyance and should include details such as goods, recipient, consignor and transporter. The e-way bill was rolled out nationwide on 1st April 2018. It is compulsory that the person transporting the goods must carry the e-way bill. It is also important that e-way bill has to be produced for verification at any point of journey. Generally, the validity of e-way bill is 1 day. In case of breakdown of the vehicle, the details are to be updated in the GST portal. The violation will attract a fine of 10,000 rupees or confiscation of goods. Our learning wouldn't be complete if we don't assess what we have learned. So here I am giving one activity for you. Write down the step-by-step process through which a new business owner can get a goods and services tax identification number. Now that we have reached the end of this lesson, hope that you have learned the history, benefits, constitutional powers, GST Council, responsibilities of GST Council, dual GST structure of GST in India, type of supply, persons liable for registration, the registration procedure, e-way bill and the need, procedures and importance of e-way bill with respect to GST. I hope that you also got an insight into the goods and services tax structure in our country. Hope you got a good insight on the topics we discussed in this module. Now, I want to conclude this module by saying that we are covering chapter 2, that is various acts. Chapter 2 was divided into 5 units. First unit is Government Contracts and Article 299. Second module was E-Contracts or Electronic Contracts. Third module was Provident Funds and Gratuity. Fourth module was Food and Safety Standards of India, FSSAI or Employee Benefits Act 2010. This was the last module, that is Goods and Services Tax. So now we have completed the second chapter, that is Various Acts, which is covered as 5 modules. Until we meet again, bye and thank you.